and all his various mystic powers. Purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that the Lord has innumerable energies and they were standing there personified. The most important among them were as follows: Pushti, the energy for nourishment; Shri, the energy of beauty; Kirti, the energy of reputation; and Aja, the energy of material creation. All these energies are invested in the administrators of the material world, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Vishnu, and in the kings and the heavenly planets, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and the sun god. In other words, all these demigods being empowered by the Lord with certain energies engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a description of the what Arjuna saw when he went outside the universe with Krishna. First he saw the waves of the Karana ocean. Then he saw the palace with thousands of pillars. Then he saw Ananta Shesha with thousands of hoods and thousands of eyes. And then finally he saw the form of Mahavishnu, and that is described here in quite a lot of detail. And by the description we see that this was a huge form and astonishing and a cause of great awe and veneration. The form of Mahavishnu is the immediate cause of Prakriti expanding into all the universes. So definitely his form is very powerful. So that is expressed here by the description of the ocean, the palace, the snake, and Mahavishnu himself. But we see that Mahavishnu himself actually is the same form that we see described as Paramatma in the heart, as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and also the form in the spiritual world. He has the color, dark blue color like a rain cloud. He has yellow clothing. He has beautiful eyes, handsome arms. In this case, he had 8 arms. Usually we think of him as 4-armed, but in this case he had 8 arms. So sometimes Vishnu can also have 8 arms instead of 4. Of course, he can have thousands of arms also, but in this case he showed 8 arms. And he had jewelry and crowns and armbands and earrings and the Kostoba jewel, the Srivatsa garland, and he was served by servants and by his weapons and by his energies. So in this way we see a very complete description of the Supreme Lord, endowed with all powers. So these energies are often personified. Not all energies are personified, but in this case we have the Lord accompanied by his energies, so his energies were personified in certain forms like Shri and Pushti, Kirti and Aja, etc. And energy means Shakti. Shakti means an expression of the Lord to do certain things. How does the Lord do his activities? How does he manifest his form? How does he manifest the spiritual world? So he does this by his energies. He has various powers by which he can do this, and often these energies take the form of persons who are like servants. So the energy actually is a servant of the Lord. The Shakti means that it is controlled by the Supreme Lord, Shaktiman. So it's natural that these Shaktis could take a personal form of being a servant. And we see that these Shaktis, of course, are feminine in form. The weapons, on the other hand, are not feminine in form, but we find the Shaktis are feminine in form, just like we have the Prakriti represented by Durga Devi, or Lakshmi representing Hladini Shakti, or Radha representing Hladini Shakti. So these are all female in form. And they manifest various powers in the Lord, such as his own beauty and his own fame, etc. And as Prabhupada explains in the purport, these energies extend even to the jivas in the material world and in the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, of course, jivas have qualities quite similar to the Lord, though in small quantity. So they all have beauty, they all have good qualities, etc. So at the same time, we find in the material world, devatas are empowered by the Lord. They are called vibhutis of the Lord. They're not avatars, nor are they Shaktivesh avatars, but still, though they have material bodies, they are favored by the Lord, so they get special powers. So we can say they're Shakti of the spiritual world, also manifest to some degree in these jivas in the material world. And in this way, they can perform their functions in a very special way as devatas and creators of the material world. So the Lord expands his energies throughout the spiritual world and throughout the material world. Of course, we can also say in the material world, a lot of the Shakti is reflective. So we have Durga Devi as a dull reflection of the spiritual Shakti of Lakshmi or Radha in the spiritual world. She doesn't have exactly the same function, but nevertheless she has some powers to manifest things. We have bliss in the spiritual world, and we have material happiness in the material world, so it's not exactly the same thing. It's a dull reflection of what's in the spiritual world. Similarly, we have knowledge in the spiritual world. We have knowledge in the material world. But the knowledge in the material world is contaminated. It is covered, not spiritual. So the chit function operates, but in a slightly different way. So in all cases, all of these are manifestations of the Lord's powers. So originally, of course, the energies are spiritual. And therefore, we often describe the Lord with his three types of energy, the Sandhini Shakti, Samvit Shakti, and Hladini Shakti. And then we have these subdivisions where we get all these different forms like Pushti, Shri, Kirti, Aja, etc. So they're all subdivisions of the main types of energy. And they act to please the Lord in the spiritual world and support the pastimes in the spiritual world. For instance, we have some functional Shaktis like the Leela Shakti. So this helps Krishna accomplish his different pastimes and create astonishment within those pastimes, such that even Krishna gets astonished. We have the Yoga Maya potency, which hides some of the knowledge of the jivas. Even though they should have perfect knowledge in the spiritual world, it gets covered over for certain purposes in performance of pastimes. So that is the function of Yoga Maya. So they may forget, they may not be aware of things. So it's a spiritual ignorance for producing pastimes and bliss in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, we also have an Aishvarya Shakti, by which Krishna manifests his powers. And of course, Krishna usually doesn't want to manifest his powers to the people of Vrindavan. But we see in the case of Mother Yasoda, when Krishna ate some dirt and the Mother Yasoda looked in his mouth, Aishvarya Shakti operated and showed the whole universe within Krishna. So that was a manifestation of his Aishvarya Shakti. And then Yasoda became very astonished by that. So in this way, the energies in the spiritual world act to enhance and assist the Lord in all of his different pastimes. And this creates bliss. So not only in Goloka, but in all of the planets in the spiritual world, we have Vishnu with his expansion. So here we have Mahavishnu with the Shakti expansions with him. And through this, he manifests his beauty, his qualities, his powers, etc. Mahavishnu, however, is a form of Paramatma. He is the Paramatma feature is a witness of certain things. So he is the witness of everything within Prakriti. Garbhodaksha Vishnu is the witness within one universe, within the whole of Prakriti. And Kshirodaksha is the witness within each jiva, within each universe. So in this way, Paramatma expands in a more and more particular way until he gets to Kshirodaksha Vishnu, which he is inside each jiva. But in general, we have Mahavishnu with the whole of Prakriti, glancing over the whole of Prakriti. So he is the first expansion because he is the initial person in charge of the material world, and he's the one that glances over Prakriti to cause it to manifest the worlds. We also see the description of how the universes emanate from Mahavishnu, and they're all like small particles of air in relation to the lattice work of a window, and they're like coming out of the pores of his body, like air goes through the lattice work of the windows. So, in other words, Mahavishnu is huge in comparison to any universe. So, though from our point of view the universe is unimaginably huge, from the point of Mahavishnu they're infinitesimal, like little molecules. So that is why we have a huge description here of Mahavishnu residing on this huge ocean, on the Anantashesha. And Arjuna saw this huge form. Naturally, he would be very astonished by this form and give it great respect. So this is one form of the Lord. It's the same form as the form in the spiritual world in Mahavaikuntha. The only difference is that Mahavishnu is functional. In the spiritual world, Mahavishnu, his only function, we could say, is to have pastimes with his devotees. The function of Mahavishnu is not to have pastimes with devotees, but to manifest the material world and preside over it. So this is a functional aspect, and therefore we don't find the same extent of qualities manifesting in him because he doesn't have intimate relationships with all sorts of devotees as he does in the Mahavaikuntha, in the spiritual world. So therefore we distinguish Paramatma from Bhagavan because the relationship is less obvious with Mahavishnu. So his relationship is with the jivas, of course, because he deposits the jivas within Prakriti, and this causes the first transformation of Prakriti into Mahatattva. And then, of course, through his expansions, ultimately he witnesses each jiva through Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So he has a relationship, but it's not the same relationship as we have between the devotees of the Lord and the Supreme Lord. Therefore, we don't have many devotees starting a relationship with Mahavishnu. Instead, if they have a relationship, he becomes Vishnu in the spiritual world instead of this Paramatma feature. So, nevertheless, he is the Supreme Lord. He's non-different from that other Lord, but he's a functional aspect of the Lord. So therefore, we say that the Lord has these different aspects: Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman. Brahman, however, is a little different because no qualities manifest there, no Shaktis, or minimum of Shaktis manifest. And therefore, even though we can say Brahman is also Sat Chit Ananda, the Sat and Chit aspects are minimal and the Sat aspect is predominant there. So it's quite different from even Paramatma. Thus, Jiva Goswami doesn't have a Sandarbha dedicated to Brahman, because he can't really talk about it. It has no qualities, no form. There's what to say about it. However, Paramatma does have a lot of power and function, etc. So then he has one Sandarbha dedicated to Paramatma. Of course, it is not too big. It is quite small compared to the Bhagavat Sandarbha. And so Bhagavan has more qualities. So therefore, we have a much bigger Sandarbha dedicated to Bhagavan. So, in this way, Arjuna and Krishna saw this Paramatma feature Mahavishnu, and they were very awed by it. Of course, Krishna is ultimately supreme and greater than Mahavishnu, but he is playing a role here of being an ordinary king in the material world or whatever like that. That simultaneously, obviously, is not, because he can go outside the universe with Arjuna and show him this form. So he is Supreme Lord, but still, we see that in the next verse he offers his respects to this Mahavishnu form, who's very huge. So natural, because of that huge form of Mahavishnu. In spite of the fact that Bhagavan is superior to Paramatma, we find that Krishna, who is Swayam Bhagavan, is offering his respects to Mahavishnu, which creates a little bit of a confusion for Arjuna also, and that's explained later. How is it that this can take place? How can Krishna offer respects to this person or whatever? How is it that he's the Supreme Lord, but he can't come to Dwarka, etc.? So these questions will be resolved later on.
Usually, this material body cannot go to the spiritual world, the same body. But the question may arise that how Arjuna was able to go in the same material body and see the Lord in the spiritual.
Well, Arjuna didn't have a material body. He actually has a spiritual body. So we see that also, even when he's in the material world, when he was shown the universal form, which is actually a material form, Krishna had to give him special eyes, because he had spiritual eyes for seeing Krishna. He had to give him divya chaksu, or heavenly eyes, to see the universal form. So he had a lesser vision to see the universal form, which is a material form. So actually he has spiritual body, spiritual senses, because he can perceive the Lord. So that is the case of many of the associates of the Lord when the Lord has pastimes in the material world. Like Nanda and Yasoda, they have spiritual bodies, not material bodies. So if they go to the spiritual world, they don't change their body. Same with Arjuna. He can go to outside the material universe and he doesn't have to change his body.
Maharaj, there is Leela Shakti, and also sometimes we see Yogamaya potency, and it is also mentioned that Vrinda Devi is planning all the Leelas. So how to understand this three?
Well, Yogamaya is particularly for hiding or revealing certain aspects of the pastimes. So as I said, she creates a type of spiritual ignorance. So, of course, this is involved in the pastimes, but you can say the Leela Shakti is responsible for arranging the basic structure of pastimes that are going to occur. It may not deal directly with illusion or forgetfulness or whatever. Sometimes it does. So then we say the Yogamaya also acts along with the Leela Shakti. So we do have to have in the spiritual world a progression in time so that activities can take place in a certain sequence. So that is arranged by the Leela Shakti. Vrinda Devi is considered to be a particular arranger of pastimes in the within Vrindavan. So therefore we can say the Yogamaya and the Leela Shakti act for all the forms of the Lord, but particularly for the Vrindavan pastimes, Vrinda Devi acts for the particularly for the arrangements of Radha and Krishna. So it's a very particular aspect of arrangement of pastimes.
We understand that Vishnu possesses 60 qualities. Which of the Vishnus we have to understand there?
What's that?
we understand that Vishnu possesses 60 qualities. Which of the Vishnu? The Mahavishnu what is mentioned here, or the Mahavishnu who is within the material realm, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, or how do we
asking what, 60 qualities belong to Mahavishnu? Or? Well, if we look at the 60 qualities as compared to the 55, we do see that one of the qualities is to manifest all the avatars, which is done through Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, like that. So we can say those are related. Of course, he has some inconceivable powers, which also Mahavishnu has. And he manifests from the pores of his body all the universes, so that's directly Mahavishnu doing that. So of these 65 extra qualities that distinguish Vishnu from Shiva, some are aspects of Mahavishnu, like the universe is emanating from the pores of his body, which Shiva does not do, but Mahavishnu does. However, we do know that superior to the Mahavishnu and that Paramatma form is the form of Vishnu in the spiritual world. So he manifests a predominance of personal qualities in relation to his devotees, dominated by Aishvarya mood. Whereas Mahavishnu doesn't manifest those so much. So that is the distinguishing nature of Mahavishnu and between Mahavishnu and the forms of Vishnu in the spiritual world.
Here it is explained that Mahavishnu on an ocean. This is different from the milk ocean or the Karnataka ocean.
Yeah, well, the milk ocean usually is described as that ocean where we have the different dvipas, and we have a saltwater ocean, a freshwater ocean, a milk ocean, a yogurt ocean, a ghee ocean, a sugarcane juice ocean, a liquor ocean, different types of oceans, and one of them is the milk ocean. So there's where Kshirodakshai Vishnu resides on that ocean. So that's within the material world. He can take either form, just like the in Kanchipuram, he's standing up or lying down, whatever, like this. So Mahavishnu, generally we see him typically lying down on Shesha, but he's got a palace also, so I assume he would get up and do things at certain times, also stand up as well. And in the spiritual world, generally we see him sitting on his throne, but he also stands up or lies down or whatever, he could do that as well. Yeah. Which is, again, it sounds a little strange because it's all one person in one sense. We cannot separate them, they're all one. But nevertheless, we do see this within pastimes. We have Krishna and Balaram, both the same Lord, they're friends. Or Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, again, same, both Supreme Lord. And Advaitacharya also is there in that form. So it is possible, and we find even Shaktivesh avatars like Narada Muni is there sometimes and goes to Dwarka, or Parsaram meets Ramchandra, etc. So we find interaction between Shaktivesh avatars, full avatars, and between different avatars as well, and between Vishnu and avatars and Krishna and avatars as well. Well, the problem with Vishnu is that he's not suitable for Goloka because he has all this Aishvarya attached to him. So that's why he cannot also come to Dwarka, because of the Aishvarya does not fit with the mood of Krishna. Even if Dwarka is also Aishvarya mood, it's Krishna. So the Vishnu forms don't go there. They're manifested separately.
So Guru Maharaj, we understand that this ocean, what is mentioned, is just an ocean of water or nectar, what the description given here.
This is the Karna ocean. It's a special ocean that exists, and it's not material water, obviously, because he's sleeping on the Karna ocean, and then he glances over Prakriti, and Prakriti then manifests Mahatattva Ahankara, and then all the elements manifest, and then they combine into universes, And then within the universe, then we have the manifestation of water as we know it, which is a combination of the 5 elements, actually, not just water. And that water is a combination. So therefore, that water in the material world is completely different from this water, which is before Prakriti even manifests water. Huh? Waves. Oh, it's a wind. Obviously, it cannot be a material wind also because there's no air and it's not manifested yet. Just like in the spiritual world, we could have wind also, but it's not material wind. Or we can have a sun and the moon in the spiritual world also. It's not material.
When we just go through the Brahma Samhita, there the description is a little bit more confusing, where Shambhu is said to be above Vishnu or for the progeny creation.
Shambhu is a manifestation from that Vishnu form, but of course some people take that as, and it's called Sadashiva also, so some people will take that as Shiva, who is the consort of, or the husband of Parvati. And then he creates the material world. But Jiva Goswami, in his commentary, says this is an aspect of Vishnu himself, because Shambhu should not create the material world. Only Vishnu should create the material world. So therefore, it cannot be Shiva, because Shiva doesn't have that power. He has 55 qualities, and the power of manifesting universes belongs to Mahavishnu. So therefore, he says it's not Shiva, even though it may be called Sadashiva or Shambhu or whatever. So it's just an aspect of Shakti, we can say the Shakti of Mahavishnu.
Guru Maharaj, you are referring that Vishnu could not enter Dwaraka, but actually in the next two slokas, we see that Arjuna is lamenting that Vishnu came into Dwaraka so many times, but somehow or other he could not have the darshan of Krishna. And Krishna says that I just made all these 9 children die only to save you.
Does it say he came to Dwarka? I think he says he cannot come to Dwarka.
Arjuna laments over there. Contemplates that why it happened.
Next verse?
Next verse or the next verse? 1 or 2 verses.
Lord Krishna offers his respects. Mahavishnu speaks. No. He just says, there's only one verse there that says, having seen the domain of Vishnu, Arjuna was totally amazed. He concluded that whatever extraordinary power a person exhibits can only be a manifestation of Sri Krishna's mercy. Doesn't talk about him going to Dwarka. Yeah, he says he wants to, but doesn't say he went to Dwarka. Because he couldn't go to Dwarka, he brought Krishna there by taking the sons. That's the whole idea. Yeah.
Maharaj, where is the Viraja river in comparison to the Karana ocean?
What is that?
Viraja river.
It's the same.
Oh, it's the same.
Yeah. Viraja is usually described as the borderline between the material and spiritual worlds. So if you look at all the little universes, and then there is the Karna ocean, then the spiritual world in that sense. So it's like that. Viraja. Which means just pure. It means pure. That's in the purport. Not in the actual commentary. Not in the thing. Why couldn't he simply see Krishna at Dwarka? After all, Mahavishnu is all-pervading, which he holds, and he could not see Krishna in Dwarka because Krishna is not allowed to see him without special sanction. So it doesn't say he came there, actually. Or even if he could, he couldn't see him. So the idea is that Krishna is supreme, so therefore without his permission no one can see him, or no one can enter Dwarka or whatever. So maybe even if Vishnu does come to Dwarka, he doesn't see Krishna, so that's why he brought Krishna to his place in Mahakalapur, or in the Karna ocean.
Brahmana and his family are very suffering. Just to see Arjuna and Krishna, why he has to do this type of...
Yes, so that is, it shows the extraordinary, we can say the extraordinary effort that Mahavishnu took even to give pain to a Brahmana, which generally he shouldn't do because he respects the Brahmanas, but he even made the Brahmana suffer so many times simply because he wanted to see Krishna and he couldn't do it any other way. So it shows the difficulty of even Mahavishnu to see Krishna, that he's willing to make the Brahmana suffer in order to see Krishna. That's the purport of that. Otherwise he wouldn't be, he sacrificed the Brahmana because of its desire to see Krishna. But ultimately the Brahmana's problem was resolved because he got his sons back. So it was a temporary suffering for the Brahmana. Well, we see that when they got outside the universe, there was the bright light, so that was like the Brahma Jyoti or whatever. But we can say in general the whole everything outside of the material world would be filled with Brahma Jyoti in one sense. But then greater than that is the actual forms beyond that. So then we got Mahavishnu and Karna ocean, etc. there. But probably you can also not locate it because it's beyond material space. So we cannot say this and then that and whatever, because beyond the material world there is no space as we know it. We can't measure space in the same way at all. It's different. Space and time don't exist. So it's a little bit of a simplification to say first is this, then is that, then is this. In material world you can do that. We can say the different layers of the universe, but once you get outside there, then first, second, third is a little bit, it's the relative terms we're speaking of, because space is not the same there. Yeah, it doesn't say what happened to them, but obviously they got association with Mahavishnu. They also had association with Krishna and Dwarka, so they must have been very special anyway. So it looks like they must have been privileged to be devotees also.
There is in text 58 it says, Mahavishnu says, come back here to me. So we say Mahavishnu coming from Krishna, but here Mahavishnu says...
Yeah, so that's interpreted. We have different ways of analyzing those words, and probably in the commentary you'll see how you can take it as that you're coming to me, but then the acharyas analyze it differently, so that ultimately it means that everything's coming from Krishna, not from Vishnu.
Maharaj, now this pastime happens in every universe in the material creation. So would that mean that Mahavishnu is constantly having darshan of Krishna and Arjuna?
Yeah. Well, we can't say it's always happening, because some of the pastimes occur sometimes and others occur other times. Krishna has a whole series of pastimes, but not all of them may occur in all the universes at all times. It's up to Krishna which ones he wants to show. Just like Mahabharata is itihas, so therefore all the details are not always exactly like that every time it occurs. So details change, so Krishna can also change the details of his pastimes somewhat. Like Jai and Vijay fell, but commentary is they don't always fall. Usually it's not like that. This is a special case where they fell from spiritual world. Usually they're just demons. They don't fall from anywhere. They're just demons and they get killed by the Lord. But in this case they're special. And they came from spiritual world, Vaikuntha. So there's details are often altered in the pastimes, even though they're somewhat repetitious.
The spiritual world is made of a chintamani, whereby it is talking about some space. The concept of space comes in there.
Yeah. But it's not like our space. In other words, you can't measure it in the same way because it can collapse into zero space as well if the Lord wants it to. Just like there's day and night in one sense, but there's no sun and moon like a fiery sun and a globular moon. That doesn't exist also.
Hare Krishna. So today very auspicious day, Vijaya Dasami. We got books of Jiva Goswami, Laghu Vaishnava Toshni, and Sanatan Goswami, Brigat Vaishnava Toshni, and also we have Jaiva Dharma by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So first set is collected by Srinivas Nitai Prabhu and family, those already paid Lakshmi, and this set cost 9 books, 7,400. So we can encourage first set by Srinivas Nitai Prabhu and family. Those who want, please give the name and number to Sasi Prabhu. Sumitra was asking one set and Rao Prabhu one set. So please come Prabhujis, then Matajis. In line is better. Subhanga Prabhu, after Sumitra will be getting. We can chant Hare Krishna to encourage them. Next Sumitra is getting one set.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So today auspicious Vijaya Dasami day, anyone starts reading Shastram or touching is very great to get spiritual knowledge.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Srini Prabhuji is left.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama
Mariappan Prabhu,
Hare Hare.
Vraja the small boy.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama,
So outsiders can also get Bhagavad Gita if they want.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.